Yeah. All right. Got another long drive. This one is across town, so I hope you guys are ready to settle in and chat for a little bit. I was very lucky today to have a conversation at work with a guy that I was working with, and got really deep, and we were both very open-minded to the what I considered coming down the line as far as the updates go, as far as the mandates, and being forced to get something that not everyone wants to get. And we were on two different sides of the argument as far as whether or not someone should get the vaccine. He's very pro getting the vaccine. Well, what's it gonna hurt if it would be better to, his argument was like, my wife got the flu shot, and then a couple weeks later, she still got the flu. And the doctor basically said, yeah, but like, she didn't die. She still got the flu, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Same goes for the coronavirus shot, which, that seems fair. And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit as well, and that conversation. Another thing that I want to talk about is, I think they want the pushback. They want us fighting. They want us arguing against each other. That way, they can push things through. And that is where I sit with that. I think that if we keep going the way that we're going, they're gonna, they're doing what they're doing. I mean, simply just talking to this guy who I work with, and I hold in high regard, right? I mean, intelligent guy. He said the same about me. He said, you're an intelligent guy. And we both basically said, at the end of the day, we don't think anyone should be forced to get it. So we both don't believe in the mandate of having it being forced upon us. But even then, I still made some points here and there, and he would just be like, "Well, why? Then just go get it." Like, if they're gonna mandate it so that you can get groceries, then just get it. And so I think that part of what we're seeing is the fact along the lines of, they are purposely spreading misinformation and playing both sides, because the longer that people hold out and fight this thing and actively go against the grain, the more reason that they're going to have to actually implement forced requirement, if that makes any sense. One of the other things that we ended up talking about, oh my gosh, it just escaped my mind. Was basically, if this is about control, and I mean, I'm open-minded. I'm willing to come around to, to maybe getting my shot. But again, the studies are coming out from Israel and the like that having natural immunity is the way to go. And having natural immunity beats getting the jab. And so why take the time out of your day to go get something that might harm you more in the long run, is basically what the data is saying. I don't want to risk myself having myocarditis or any of these other side effects. I don't want to be like one of these football players. I am a very active-ish person. I like to do the stair climber. I like to run hills in my backyard. I like to be active. I like to work out. And if I start becoming short of breath every time I work out, I don't want to become unhealthy because I'm being forced to become unhealthy because of an injection that I got. And again, I think everyone should have the free will to decide whether or not they want to put it in their body. The reason being is the Pfizer CEO has just come out and said that in March, and it is January 11, 1/1/22, the Pfizer CEO has basically said that the Omicron vaccine will be ready in March, and already in parts of the world we're already discovering the IHJ variant, another new variant. So when does it stop? If the variants are outpacing the ability for our scientists to produce a vaccine, then there's no point to even get one, right? We need to let the thing run its course. We've already messed this up by forcing a vaccine as quick as possible. And a lot of scientists in the beginning said, don't do it. And if you remember, that was the Trump administration. And you had all of these Democrats and liberals siding with the scientists then, saying, don't do it, don't force it. You're gonna create variants, and it's not gonna be good, and it's not gonna be pretty. And then Big Pharma saw dollar signs and started paying people to basically push the narrative into, no, we need to get the vaccine. And then they got lawyers to draw up contracts to have with these big governments to sell a certain amount of jabs and all kinds of other crazy stuff that's come to light in the past 2 years. No longer 2 weeks to flatten the curve. 2 years, the curve is less than flat. So why is this narrative crumbled around us? But why are we still trying to have jackboot authoritarian totalitarianism style ruling over the classes of all of the earth? And I get that one of the arguments against that is, they do want, like, that's the thing is that me and my coworker talked about, which I thought about before, and I've talked about on conspiracy message boards and things like that, and I haven't really delved into it, but I expressed the thought a long time ago that basically says, if they are going for the people who, essentially it boiled down to the people who go ahead and get the injection and get the inoculation, the people who get it, they're going to be the ones that are going to be okay. It's going to be the people who hold out and fight it and don't do it and don't get it. They're going to be the ones that in the beginning aren't, they're going to be the ones to be harmed, whether that's through loss of health or loss of life or loss of freedom. I don't know. It was very foreboding what the White House said. I mean, I can't believe that it came down to that's what they were able to put, get ready for a harsh winter of death and illness if you don't get the vaccine. I mean, they really just towed that line? And that's old news at this point, but they really just put that out there. They really just said that. And so, you can't say something like that with such certainty if you're not certain that something's going to happen. So what do they know? Do they know? And what I wasn't really able to get across to my coworker was, well, the people who go ahead and fall in line and get the injection and get the inoculation in the beginning, they're the ones willing to go along with whatever Big Bro says. They're the ones who are the type to just trust blindly. And that's the gene that is being bred out right now. This isn't eugenics in the sense of what Hitler did or the conspiracy about Planned Parenthood or anything like has been done in the past. This is a different gene. This is a freedom gene, an independence gene, a fight the man kind of gene that they are trying to selectively breed out. This is a trait that they are breeding out. And so the people who protect the profitability of the ruling class are going to be the ones who are fine. And so slowly, either you give up your freedom now, and then through rote force over generations, if you want to see your bloodline propagate forward, you're just going to have to go along with it. You may not like it, but you're willing to give up things here and there. Or you're going to fight it to the very bitter end and fight the system. And it's going to be one hell of a fight, one hell of a stoic battle, one hell of a battle for your life, for your freedom, for the freedom of your kids and grandkids, and for the future of humanity. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But they are breeding for a trait. And they know it too. They don't, like I said in the last video, they don't see us as other people. They see us as less than. They see us as consumers, as numbers, as statistics. They see us simply as gray matter to work and perpetuate and propel an out-of-control fake economy and move it forward and make them richer and more vapid and more soulless and empty. And what a lot of people don't realize is the sacrifices and the exploitation that goes on, or they do realize it. A lot of us maybe do realize it, but there's just nothing that we can do. There really isn't. I mean, and that just goes to show how beholden we are to this system of technology. And technology's changed our lives in a lot of ways, but I don't know if all of it, since it's advancing so fast, is going to be for the better. People talk about transhumanism, this, and, whatever. I touched on it, but I don't know if that's what they want, right? If that's what the elites want, then the elites are transhuman already. They're already some AI super machine or intelligence from another planet that's just taking the long game approach and in small steps making moves slowly but surely. And people might look at me and be like, dude, Dave, like, why do you care what the world's gonna look like when you're not there anymore? Well, because that's my future generations. That's my kids and my grandkids. And, my grandparents and great-grandparents fought for this freedom, for this life, for this country, for this world to be the way that it is. And they, like, some of them fought, some wars are fought over oil and land, and it's atrocious what wars have been fought over. But the thing is there's other wars that have been fought defending other countries from great evils and great atrocities. And the world would look vastly different if Stalin had his way. Russia won so many battles and was such a force to reckon with because it was ruthless in its strategy. It's like the Turians from Mass Effect, the Turians. They just strike hard and fast. And maybe that's not what they did, but essentially it's just blunt force trauma. And just Russia would just throw men and throw troops at the problem and order their own tanks to shoot any of their own men who turned to flee the battle, anyone who would be a traitor. Gun down their own comrades in arms. Savage. So if Stalin had been able to expand, the world would look different. If the world looked more like Japan in that culture, it would be vastly different. We'd be working a whole heck of a lot more. Probably be way more technologically advanced, but we'd be working a lot. Of course, a lot of people have an idea of what the world would look like if Nazi Germany had won. Imagine what the world would look like. It wasn't the it was man. Another Asian. It was an Asian one, and it was bad. Where they basically the poor rose up to kill the middle class. You know, Marxism type of thing. Marx isn't so bad. Marx isn't great. It led to a lot of other stuff down the road, and I'm no Marx scholar at all. But I think that people need to read that dang thing. Not that anyone can. At least there needs to be a Cliff Notes version. There's probably classes. One of the other things that we talked about was just like his attitude was, you know, if 1 in a million people who get the injection die, you know, that's just 1 in a million, and like that is almost crazy how ruthless that is. Because my thought is not that at all. My thought is basically that there should be nobody dying from any sort of health care. And especially when a CEO of a pharmaceutical company is basically the one running the show through press releases, saying, oh, well, you know, it's only like 70% effective. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Some of the other things I've been watching lately, and recently one came out just an hour ago, is, you know, Dr. Rand Paul is absolutely grilling Fauci in the hearings. And a lot of people probably aren't even aware of that going on. And what's even scarier is, you know, Dr. Fauci is just deny, right? Even though we've all seen the emails, the proof is in the pudding, and then Fauci has the nerve to be like, oh, this is always what happens, you know, Senator Paul, you always just blow things out of proportion and make it up, and then you know, oh, you're such an evil person, and now there's death threats against me, and it's your fault. Well, Dr. Faust, I mean, man, you brought this on yourself. You look terrible up there. You sound like you've been caught red-handed. You simply look and sound like you're lying. And there's a difference in the way someone responds to accusations who's lying versus someone who's trying to respond to accusations that they simply know are blatantly and patently not true. And you are trying to defend yourself to the bitter end. Therefore, you're lying. It's easy to see it in your face, in the way that you say things. If you weren't lying, you wouldn't have to defend yourself. You wouldn't. You would simply say, I can't defend myself against blatant lies and accusations, and you'd shut up. And you'd let the evidence do the speaking for you, but the proof and the fact is, the evidence is speaking, and you're trying to do your damnedest to keep your head above water. You know, I accidentally messed up and made a comment in the beginning of that video that Fauci is dead in the water because you looked like a stranded fish, didn't know what to do, where to go, like you were caught. And then you went on to say about death threats and some gentleman who was pulled over who had an AR-15 on his way to Washington, and they asked what he was doing, and he was obviously mentally unstable and said that he was coming to get you. And I took away that comment because, you know, I mean, that was obviously in poor taste with the new information that came to light. But Mr. Fauci, if that is happening, and if you say that is true, it's not Dr. Rand Paul's fault. He's not the one instigating it. People are having these thoughts on their own. You're the one who is spearheading this whole thing. And if you're not willing to take the heat, get out of the kitchen, my friend. You need to step down. Let someone else take the helm. Because you got yourself into this mess, and you can't sit here. I mean, you're either going to steer this ship into the iceberg and sink us all, or you're going to do the right thing and step down and let someone else step in. Y'all, very important to vote this midterm. 2022, vote, 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 vote. Swing that pendulum. Find out, contact your local representatives, find out who supports what you support, whether that be no vaccine mandates, no mask mandates, whatever. Basically find the candidates who support freedom and the ones who are gonna fight for that, because if this continues to go the direction that it's gone in, we're doomed. And, you know, conservatives / Republicans, you guys aren't off the hook. You know, I'm no conservative or Republican or Democrat or liberal by any of today's standards, and many people who know me know that that's the truth. I'm like many people. I don't think many people have a tribe that they identify with, at least not most people who live everyday life like you and I. You know, the infotainment media, the people who follow that, they're the ones you gotta watch out for. You know, because they are just watching the TV programming. It's programming them to think and speak and phrase things a certain way. You know, like, here's the deal. I actually had this conversation with a young gal at work, because she was like, well, what does Let's Go Brandon mean? And guys, I'm no fan of President Joe in many ways. But in the beginning, when he got elected, I mean, I didn't want to see it happen. I didn't want to see Trump get reelected either. And I simply accepted the fact that he got elected. I said, you know, well, at least now we can get back to having corrupt politicians instead of corrupt businessmen running the country, sort of as a joke. And so now then this whole Let's Go Brandon thing happened, and I had to explain what it meant and how it happened with the NASCAR race and the chant at sporting events. And like, I think that is in poor taste. Poor taste. Poor class. You know, if you have the bumper sticker, if you're wearing the shirt, if you're writing it on porta potty stalls, if you're just, you know, it's a euphemism. It doesn't make you funny or smart. I can say something that means something really naughty and bad, but I can say it in a way that's safe for work. No, you're just no better than if you were to just say it. Just get over yourself. You're not, you know, you're not, I don't want to say intelligent, but it's a loophole, but not a very good one. But it's low effort, it's low class, And I just don't understand it. I really don't. And I don't care for it. But that's just like my opinion, man. So when it comes to politics, I just want to go with the Ron Swanson style. You know, all government is pretty much a waste of my money, my taxpayer dollars. If I get a lot of it. I'm not full Ron Swanson libertarian. Got like a weird burp coming up. It's so weird, y'all. As soon as I get in the car and start driving, I just get sleepy. Say something cathartic about it. I'm not full Ron Swanson libertarian. I do like paying taxes to have a fire department, a police department. I support our troops and our officers. I like knowing that I do have money going to protect us, because there are terrorist organizations out there. There are forces out there that a lot of us aren't even aware of, that could make a lot of people's lives very bad and very miserable very quickly. And it's thanks to the sacrifice of our troops and other defense and military and specialists and recon, the CIA, the FBI. You know, they are doing a lot to keep the nation safe. And people who keep our water supply, our municipal water supply clean, keep the filtration going, you know, those are the true heroes, man. Those people need to be recognized. They need to be paid better. It just, this whole idolization, this whole fetishization of celebrities and sports stars is just absolutely disgusting. This is probably a very liberal side of me, or a very whatever, but you know, I love watching football and drinking beer as much as the next red-blooded American male who loves steaks and burgers. But man, I don't give up a lot of my other time to go out of my way to do that stuff. I'd much rather sit down with a nice PlayStation or Xbox game or PC game, or you know, hobby, catching up, or just spending some time out at the park on a nature hike. You know, doing something like that rather than getting drunk watching the ball game. You know, it's fun, but I don't understand why superstar athletes who, you know, are very talented, I don't understand why they get paid so stinking much. I don't understand how it works. I don't understand how the NFL can be a non-profit when it makes so much profit. I think if every NFL star stopped trying to live like a hip-hop artist and started donating all of their excess bonus signing money to teachers, to the high schools that they came from, then I think that we'd see a lot more teachers starting to give an F. And then we'd see a lot more teachers starting to give an F about athletics, and it would kind of be like that. But then hopefully, you know, a better teacher is a better teacher, and at least they'd be able to raise, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. And so hopefully that's something that can happen. I mean, I know that we had an athlete come out of our school, go pro, and he gives back to the school, and it's good for the school, and it's good for the students in the school at the time. So, it's good for recruitment. It's good for a lot of things, just donation-wise and everything like that. And if more athletes gave back and gave paid salaries to teachers out of their own pocket, this world would be a lot different. And then if we quit making stupid people famous and actually had intelligent TV, at least a true, before, oh my gosh, TLC, talk about nosediving, talk about race to the bottom in cable television before Netflix. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think Netflix did so well at the time that it did. It wasn't the fact that it was a streaming service. It was the fact that it was putting out quality educational documentaries and content when everything on TV was in a race to the bottom. It really was. And that was part of the reason that I watched Netflix as much as I did. TLC, the Learning Channel, was no longer the Learning Channel. It was reality TV. Everyone knows MTV no longer cared about music. VH1 was all reality TV for, old musicians, Flavor of Love and whatever the Bret Michaels one from Poison, like all that jazz. Like, it's all dumb. And history with ancient aliens and Discovery, I mean, they all just raced to the bottom, and nobody wanted to, that's all that was on. I mean, Comedy Central was the only one that had any semblance left of anything good left on TV, and that's because because it had South Park, and South Park was about the only witty TV show on that was worth a damn, because they went after everybody. So, maybe I'm remembering it different, but it just seems like everything went from Barney to SpongeBob to whatever we have now. I don't know what the kids are watching. Teletubbies seemed a little weird to me. Never quite understood it. Also wasn't a kid at the time. Also didn't have kids at the time. Was in a different place in my life. So, Power Rangers was great. I remember Power Rangers. And anyway, so if we quit making stupid people famous and started actually having a good, PBS show again, and I'm not saying PBS is great, but I mean Sesame Street, and I don't know, this whole view, I don't know if this is political or not, and this is really how I feel though. I grew up in a very conservative Republican household, whatever, label it what you will. And I had those values and I had those beliefs, but the older I get, the more I see the ivory tower side of things. I at least think the liberals are onto something. They seem to be a little bit more educated. But there's one thing about having liberal ideology that's socially progressive, socially liberal, but fiscally conservative type of situation, you know what I mean? And how it actually is. I mean, it's one thing to be happy for it's one thing to want to see certain progressive changes in the world, but it's another to have to feel like you have to align yourself with a tribe in order to want one thing. For me, climate change is huge. It's all political right now about who did what and who started it and what should be done. For me, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be science. Now, why does science have to be a partisan issue? Why does politics have to creep its grubby little fingers into everything? It has to get its paws on everything. And it just makes me so upset and so mad, because if you have the ability and the funding, the capability, the intelligence, right? Like I would say that we have, as a society, between our nation and nations all over, the ability to fix global warming, but we just choose not to, because we choose capitalism and we choose profits over people and our future. And that's why I think becoming an extraplanetary species is the way to go, because we are just absolutely destroying this one. And nobody cares, because it's all about them, it's all about me. So, when you're in a society like the United States that perpetuates that ideology and feeds it and feeds that machine with the Instagram and the selfie generation, people nowadays question whether or not they should either A, have kids, or B, why do they even have kids, because of the way the world is right now. And that should never be a thought that crosses anyone's mind. There shouldn't be people like, well, I just am choosing not to have kids because I don't want to raise my kids in this world. That means things are bad. That means, like, I don't want, if you're saying, like, I'm not sure if I want to have kids because I wouldn't want someone to grow up in this world, or I'm scared about the future, so I don't want to have kids and bring them into that future. What else does that mean? It means that it's bad, y'all. It's bad. Very bad. So why not work to fix it? We can fix global warming. We can fix climate change. Whatever. We can probably terraform our own planet. And we need to just not be as selfish. I don't know how this happened. I don't know why everything all of a sudden is all me, and selfie this and selfie that, and everyone thinks that they're the star of their own reality TV show. It's a little ironic, me talking to myself, but it's like I said in the episode prior to this, when I went out to eat we went out on a date, and for the whole date, not the whole date, but at one point, I looked over at another table, and there this girl was on a date with this guy from, they're probably about 10 to 12 years younger than us. And she was just sitting on her phone the whole time, like not even like looking in the direction of her date, like faced diagonally away from the guy that she was with the entire time that we were there until we left. I remember walking out and she's just glued to her phone. Like, bitch, what's so important that you can't just be in the moment? That's the issue, is nobody lives in the moment anymore. Nobody cares about the here and now. That's one of the other issues, is the here and now is gone. And that would lead to a discussion about anxiety and depression, and probably one of the reasons that we see it so much, and that is so prevalent, because so many people are just constantly glued to their screen, their smartphone, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm not guilty. I mean, If I can, I'm listening to a podcast. If I can, I'm looking at my stock portfolio. Of the 3 different ones that I have, I'm looking at them. I'm trying to place trades. I'm trying to do research. I'm on social media trying to figure out the next big ticker. Do I need to sell this one stock? Do I need to, take losses now before I'm holding the bag? And I'm not living in the moment because I'm focused on the future of my money, of like what is my money going to look like in a week, in a month, in a year? Am I going to make the right decision now? So I get it in a lot of ways, but at the same time, the happiest I am is when I slow down and I go out in nature, take a hike, and I actually just like spend time getting back to nature, getting back to reality, living in the moment. That is Delta Dow. That would cure a lot of shit. Oh no. I messed up. I don't want to go and cut in front of everybody. I knew I should have stayed in this lane. I just can't tell anymore. Oh. This chick did not even care. Just came straight over. Alright, well, you know what? It's been 42 minutes. I think that's enough for now. If there's any more topics that I touched on that you want to hear more about, please leave a comment below and we will talk about it next time. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I am looking forward to growing this. I've gotten some good feedback on some of my other videos, so really happy about that. And until tomorrow, friends, have a good one, stay safe, and see you then.